and good afternoon, all the audiences. Thanks a lot for taking out time from your busy schedule this afternoon to talk about experience design as a career path. So, Satadru is an experienced designer, mostly worked in software products, but has got exposure to a lot of different types of products also through his community of experienced designers. So, this is actually the first in a series of events that we are calling Career Path Discovery Series. So this is by IEEE Young Professionals Affinity Group. We are starting this as an effort to inform students and young professionals about what are the different types of and in each career path, what are the skills required, what is the uh, career progression opportunities to help them decide that what what really works for them. Uh, Throughout the series, we'll be inviting different experienced professionals, diverse set of industries and academic institutions to help us know about each of their career paths, the, how it connects to each one of us, which career path would most sense to follow. So with that context, we would like to start our first session. So welcome, Satadru.
Thank you, Bhaskar. Thank you, Bhaskar. I mean, first of all, to give this opportunity to me to come join and speak about experience design. I I will share to the best of my knowledge and to the best of my ability and help and hopefully help some of the design aspirants that we have in our group today. Definitely, and I'm looking forward to this interactive session with you, and hopefully, if we get some questions from our fellow viewers, from our fellow colleagues, which we can definitely go through one by one. I do have a few slides with me, which I would want to share as and when we progress, and then we can move forward from there. All right, so let me go ahead and try and share my screen. Let me know once you're able to see it.
Yeah, I can see now.
All right, so I mean, when we talk about experience design, it is a huge topic, Bhaskar, and I would definitely like to kind of today at least touch base upon some overviews which will help our fellow aspirants who would want to enter the design industry. But I hopefully will break some myths that are there in the industry, try to clarify what design is. Um, I will definitely say that this is something that I missed at the beginning of my own career. But I am so happy that you and your platform is trying to help out all the students that are either passing out or are freshers at this point of time who are trying to start into this industry. And hopefully I can kind of, talk about my own experience as well. Um, so what I Yeah,
Yeah, so I was just asking, would you like to start with the introduction of who you are, what you do?
yeah, yes, sure, absolutely. So I do have a few items which I hope you are able to see at your end as well. I know that there might be a slight lag between how I present and how it comes in the presentation, but I will try to kind of slow down and verify it with you at least. So let me know if I need to kind of, slow down between the slides as well. So quickly to start off and a bit about myself, my story, which should be the icebreaker session, hopefully. I'll begin with my childhood. I am from Haldia Township. It's a small industrial port city in West Bengal, and I did my schooling from St. Xavier's. And I was a student of commerce in 11th and 12th. And then among my activities, I used to love games like football and table tennis, although there were some other as well. I was from my childhood a bit creative. My father pushed me into, not pushed me, but always helped me to pick up certain skills. One of those being art and painting. So during my childhood, I used to go and learn the skill of painting and sketching and things like that. So just wanted to kind of give you, here I am on the right hand side. That's absolutely from my nursery school days. I still hold to the beautiful memories very close to my heart. And as I was growing up, after my schooling from St. Xavier's, after I completed that, I moved to the city of Noida. It's an industrial development plan city in Uttar Pradesh, but very nearby on the border to Delhi as well. And I was doing my graduation, and I completed my graduation in animation and multimedia in 2008 from BIT Mishra. They have a branch in Noida over there. While I was doing this particular course, I continued my creative side. I still did my art, and I picked up design and animation as a skill as well throughout my graduation days. Although if you see animation and multimedia, it was a 3-year course. There were two different distinct things going on here. So one is animation and one is multimedia. And as and when we progress through this particular presentation, I will most probably be able to kind of create some differences and make everyone understand what are the differences between the different roles that we have under design, and then we can pick up those questions which are around that. So that was growing up, and after I completed my graduation, I started to work in Noida itself. So my first few jobs were in Noida city, and then I moved to Pune. So my work life so far, I started my career as a 3D character animator. Really, it was a small firm, a team of 5 to 6 people, if I remember correctly. We were a group of friends who were very, very passionate about doing 3D animation. So I was a character animator, and then there were other people who were working in the company as a light designer or even the space designer. So the world of 3D is huge. So the industrial design being there and everything. So I specifically was working as a character animator over there in the company. Slowly and steadily as we were growing, but unfortunately the company kind of didn't have the financial backup at this point of time, and so we had to close down. And then I kind of shifted into customer support associate with Tech Mahindra. I mean, it was a job in one of the contact centers of Tech Mahindra, and I was working with Bell Canada as a process. Honestly speaking, I think one of the key skills that I learned over here from this particular job was communication and understanding the problems of our customers. In India, there is a bias about working in the BPO industry or any other industry that you want to pursue, but there is no job that you cannot learn from. So there is always something that you can learn from. While I was doing this job, I continued my freelancing job as a designer. I was doing some 3D animation work as well. And at the same time, I was shifting slowly towards graphic and web designing. Um, that kind of, when I got the opportunity with Axis Convergence as a web designer, I came back into the firm and full-time job with Axis Convergence as a web designer. This was kind of a shift back to my own domain, where I was doing pretty much, wearing multiple hats really. It was not only working as a designer and working on the design tools, but it was more than that. I was also kind of working as a content writer for the websites that I was designing. I was also doing some blogging stuff for them as well. And it was kind of a hustle work, really. I had to meet some customers, take phone calls with them, and trying to understand how they would like their website to be designed. So small work, a small scale company, but it kind of gave me the ground path where I learned a lot of things. Because it was a small company, I was given the challenge to wear multiple hats, and I picked up a lot of skill during that point of time. As I was growing in my career, my first breakthrough kind of came in as a team lead with Search Value. The CEO of Search Value kind of gave me a great opportunity to work as a team lead. We were working for a client out of the US. It was a big firm which was specializing in law. So they had clients up to 1,500, I believe. So individual lawyers or law firms. So they outsourced this work to a particular company in Noida, and they again in turn hired us. We were a group of 4 people to begin with, and I was the only designer at that point of time. I had 2 developers and a quality analyst, and the task was really to improve the designs of the already existing websites that they had. And from the first year that I started with Search Value, within the next 12 months, or within the next, I believe, approximately 16 months, we grew up to a team of 16 people. And that was a great project, or I would say that was a great turning point in my own career, where starting with 4 people, and then I was handling a team or managing a team of designers, developers, quality analysts, and even SEO. So you see the progression that I kind of made in my own career, trying to understand and work on with different people, different kind of domains coming in, and how to work collaboratively with them. So design is kind of a very collaborative process that we work in. And then after Search Value, I got a breakthrough from MNC, which is Accenture Services, and I kind of got a big jump in my role to work in the mobility sector as well. So when I was with Search Value, I was already picking up the skills of user interface design, and the trend word being then user experience design. And then working and trying to get a chance with working such a big company as Accenture Services as a UX specialist in the mobility as well. So applying those skills that I have gained over the year, using my experience, and at the same time learning new skills, new domains as I moved into my career. Lastly, today, if you see, I'm working with Principal Global Services here in Pune, and it's part of the Principal Financial Group. I have been working with them since 2017 February, and it's a great company to work in. As the name mentions, Principal Financial, the whole domain is around finance. They have products in retirement products, they have insurance products, they have mutual funds, and they are a global company. So Principal is across the world, kind of, and my role over here is pretty much as a user experience lead first, and then I'm working as a consultant. But I do not want to, kind of get hung up on the designation as such. But at the end of the day, I'm doing, or I'm kind of doing an experience design role. So that's about my story and a brief about the my work that I have been doing so far.
That's great. Starting with a 3D character animator, going into customer support role, coming into web designing, and then
Yep.
working in a financial services company to
Yes.
and the experience. I think that's a very diverse kind of experience that we have gathered over the years.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Yeah. You wanted to ask something.
yeah, so one thing I'm trying to understand, so what do you do as an experienced designer at a financial services company? As far as we understand about experience, experience comes into picture when there is a UI, when there is something, when there is a product to interact with. So, in a financial services, where does experience come into picture?
Yeah. I mean, I do understand the question that you have in your mind. To answer that question, I would definitely first want you to understand that design in itself is a vast, field. And talking about designing experiences, um, it is about connecting humans or users or people or customers to the product that the company is kind of providing. So e- every company has a gap between their products and the need and and the wants of the users. So to help build that gap, that is where design kind of comes into the picture. And design, it doesn't mean that only the designers have the vital role to play over here. It, as I mentioned, like it is the job to present that particular product to the users or your customers. You need to kind of work with the engineers. You need to work with the quality analyst. You need to work with product owners. You need to work together with product managers, and it's a teamwork. And that is where you hear these terminologies of you're an experienced designer or you're a product designer, and all these terminologies which we will touch base upon definitely in our future slides. But yeah, so to answer your question, it's designing experiences is bridging the gap between what the customer needs or wants, and what the company is providing to them. So that's what we try to do in our company. And then there are various processes as to how we can do it. But at its core, what we are doing is we are designing. And to start off this particular subject, I would basically want everyone on this platform, on the IEEE platform, or the students that would be watching this, is to first understand what design is. Because many of us, when I was a student, I wanted to study design by paying a particular paying a particular institute and saying that I want to learn design, so I want to learn a certain set of softwares. So that is a notion that you shouldn't have. I'm being absolutely transparent. Softwares would come and go as and when the design industry evolves. So it's not about the software, it's about learning those skills which help you in designing a certain product. And it's not a, a job of the designer by themselves. It's a teamwork in association or in collaboration with everyone that I mentioned earlier.
So, who are in the team? So, you mentioned designers are not alone. Uh,
Yep.
are designers and developers, they are coming together to do this job, or what is the
Yeah.
team structure like that works on a product or a service?
Sure. So I mean, different companies would be having different kind of team structures, and those teams might be working in various ways. And there are companies who have come up with their own procedure of working, right? But the structure that we over here we are working with is that we have a set of designers, and again, when I say designers, they can be interaction designers, they can be digital designers, they can be user experience designers, they can be graphic designers, they can be designers of content. So there are various sets of designers. Again, they work very closely with people who does research work. What do I mean by research? So for any product, when a client come to us, or even forget about client, when we try to innovate a product for our own customers, we do a certain set of research with our end customers, or with our the people who would be using that product. So here comes the work of the researchers, who closely collaborate with the end users, trying to understand what are the problems that they are facing today with the product that we are giving them. They come and they do it with, like, they have multiple ways of doing research, and we can dig a bit deep, but to give you an overview, there are certain set of exercises to do primary research. There are secondary researches where we do focus groups, we do one-on-one interviews, we also kind of do stakeholder interviews, we also do or send out forms and get feedbacks from the users. And then after we get that research work, the design team does some brainstorming sessions as well between themselves. Apart from researchers, we work with product owners and product managers, because as a set of designers, we need to understand how the company works, right? Whichever company you are working with. So to understand the process as to how our company wants to deliver that particular to the end customer, you need to understand the vision of the company as well. So here comes the project managers, or these the product owners who have that understanding of the business as well. So we closely work with the business team as well. Once we work with those business people, like the product owners or the product managers, or even the requirement gathering people who does the requirement gathering, um, we also go back and work with the developers closely, that this is what we are trying to build, this is what the design may look like. So what do you think about that? What platform are you going to use? Is the design going to be applicable to that particular platform, or that particular technology that you are going to use? We also kind of give a heads up to our quality analysts as well. I mean, it is an iterative process, so they come in different stages. So we also work closely with the quality analysts as well, trying to see that the design that we provided earlier and the code that comes in from the engineers or from the developers, that is being translated probably as the end product. If there is anything that needs to be fixed, we go back to our design, we go back to our codes, and then together we kind of have that finesse into any kind of product, whether it's a desktop application, web application, mobile application, a particular software, or even a particular product like a physical product. So everything would include all these kind of processes as well. So I hope that kind of gives you an idea as to which are the different teams we collaborate with. And I forgot to mention, we also work closely with the content team as well, because content is also part of how we present our design. So content team, imagery team, so everything comes into the picture.
Yep, that definitely helps, Satadru. So it's not just, so it's not a like a pipeline. We are not working in a pipeline where something comes from the business stakeholder, some requirement comes from the managers, then uh, experienced designers develop a design, then it goes to developers,
Yeah,
then it goes to testing. I think that is now how it works. All of us come together, and
yeah,
then we brainstorm on the solutions, and that's how
Yes.
we find certain ideas,
Right.
and probably product managers help in prioritization of them, and then we start
Yes.
iterating on those ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. And we both have worked closely on certain projects in our own company, and it kind of depends on the project that I am working on. It might be a small feature request that comes in, and we need to kind of change the design on a particular web page very quickly, and that is something different. So the process is very nimble and very flexible. So if there is a small feature request, we kind of tackle it in a different way. But when it's a bigger project and we get the opportunity to follow the complete process, we then handle it in a different way. So it completely depends on at what stage we are receiving the request, what is the nature of the project, what is the timeline of the project. um, so everything kind of plays together. Yes.
Thanks, Satadru, for that.
Yeah. Sure. So one thing that I definitely wanted to kind of share with the group, when you talked about the role and the what do I do about in my daily basis, right? So the one thing that I wanted to kind of give away to our viewers today is what is design. We need to understand that. Design is basically not about straight away diving into creating something, whether it's a web, whether it's a mobile application, whether it's print media. So we do not deep dive into it straight away. uh, it's a bigger subject, and there are a few things that I have picked up while I was growing, and these are some of the things that I keep in front of myself to remind me every day what design is. And there are a few things that I want to kind of shout out some of the points. So, design is about solving problems. Design is a natural form of life. It is a reflection of the world. It bridges the complexity. It is a bridge between complexities and meaning. Design is human centered, and design in itself is disruption. Uh, so we will go through these one by one. I have some examples for the team basically over here who are looking at this. I have some examples, and I hope those examples will kind of help you connect what these statements or what these phrases are. So when we talk about design is about solving problems, what does that really mean? And I'm just going to pause here trying to understand whether you guys are on the same slide as what I am seeing. So I have some examples up. Bhaskar, are you seeing the same slide, or is it the list of the things that I just talked about?
So I can see the pictures of keyboard
Okay,
that you have
okay,
shared.
okay. Great. So, yeah, so what do I mean by design is about solving problems. It is way more than pixels and colors and prettiness and drop shadows or beautification or any design software, which I kind of did call out earlier as well. But it is not about this. If you want to build a career in design, it is more than this. This 110%. Obviously, any designer would be using these things as a part of their skills when they are designing. But I have some examples below. So, products which we use in our day to day life, right? So, somebody invented the keyboard, but then we face a lot of problem while trying to clean up that keyboard. There are certain spaces where our fingers or the cloth that we are trying to use, it doesn't kind of reach. So somebody invented this jelly-like substance which helps you clean the keyboard. It goes to places or to those places where your fingers or your cloth is not kind of reaching deep down. So this is a kind of an innovation in itself. This is again a design in itself. So this is about product design. Um, we over here in India, we use a certain set of plug points. But if you go to Japan or if you go to US, they have different designs of plug points. So somebody has to, when they faced a certain problem, when they were traveling, probably they understood that, even though we have designed plug points to, help our charger go inside, but I cannot use my Indian charger and go over to Japan and use it. So they came up with an using universal adapter. Another example in our day-to-day life, what we see is a Ziploc. Like Ziploc was there earlier as well, but when we talk about packaging, packaging was there before Ziplocs. Packaging with Ziplocs came into a later stage. It kind of helps you keep the ingredients inside. You do not need to find a separate container, or you do not need to find a separate place to kind of store your ingredients. You do not need to unload it and then kind of keep it for its freshness. Now you have the Ziploc packaging to keep your ingredients fresh the way it is. So what I mean by this slide is, design is about solving problems. It is not about learning the softwares only. Design is a natural form of life. That's the next slide. I hope you are able to see that. And I'll just quickly talk about what do I mean by it. It is something that allows us to take inspiration from and to be able to create or build or innovate and develop things within our own ecosystem of life, right? Nature in itself inspires us with a lot of design. It has inspired designers with colors as well. And it has inspired designers in every way possible, every form possible. So what you see over here on the left hand side um, is a spider web, right? And that turned into an inspiration when an architect applied that similar design form while building a bridge, a suspension bridge. On the third image that you see is again of a spider web, right? And we as designers, or a designer, whoever has come up with the engineer's design, that the fourth picture that you see is again an industrial product. It's a chair, but look at the design. It is kind of inspired from this. And it's a natural, and this is a natural form of life. A spider web is a natural form of life. So we draw inspiration from nature as well when we are trying to kind of design for anything. Okay.
So are you
My
trying to say that by observing how nature builds things, we are trying to
Mhm.
solve our problems in an artificial way, taking inspiration from the nature?
Yes, I mean, when we are designing for certain products, yes, definitely, we definitely get inspired by our nature. I definitely know that when I work on colors, uh, um, there are certain websites that you can go through, and then there are web colors, and then there are nature colors as well. So we often refer, depending on the project that you are working on, we work with certain color palettes which are inspired from nature as well. Inspired by nature, industrial designer come up with industrial design projects. Inspired by nature, an interior designer can come up with an interior design project. And there are certain functions that we kind of have to remember when we are kind of dealing with the digital design. So we need to consider factors like accessibility. So when we do any design for all our customers, we have to consider our customers who may have color blindness. Color blinded people see the world in a different way, right? So how do we design for them? So that is another big chapter when we talk about design, or when we talk about user experience design or CX design. Or so there are various roles, but what I meant from this slide is, yeah, we definitely get inspired by nature. That's for sure.
Sure, sure.
All right. So moving on from that, I will also say that design is a reflection of the world as well. As the world changes, as the world evolves, the design that matter to us also need to change, and it changes with the world as well. Okay, so you remember when was the I mean, like, I do not know, but when I was doing the research for this presentation myself, I came across this particular image of cars. So if we look at the first innovation as to how car was innovated, it was innovated on the basis of steam power, and then it moved on to coal and gas engine. It had internal combustion engine. Then the electric ignition came into the picture. And since 1997, according to this, we started to focus on some green design. And I think, as millennials or in today's world, if you are close to see what Tesla is trying to do, they are kind of closely concentrating on electric vehicles, right? So as the world changes, the design also changes. It is on the basis of the customer want, it is on the basis of the customer need, and it is also kind of form of innovation as well. So everything comes together. Design is a bridge between complexities and meaning. I know this might sound a bit, psychological or something, but what I would say is that on one side, if you look at this, on one side there are problems and complexities faced by your users or our customers. But on the other hand, there are innovations that are happening with the advancements in technologies and systems. So building that, gap is something that we want to do. And here comes design. We, with the help of the innovators and the technical expert people, with the subject matter experts of that field, together coming as a team, we design to solve problems, all those complexities. And it can be a digital problem, it can be a worldwide problem. And so you see an example, somebody needed to go from point A to point B, but there was a big river in between. And that is when probably somebody wanted to build a bridge. So the design came into play. They got inspired by a number of things. And if you look at and study about the story as to how a bridge was built, when was the first bridge built, you can get into the details of that. So design is bridging the complexities with the end customers, right? Design is always human centered. When we talk about design in our company or in any other place, there are a lot of companies who are focusing on the practice called human-centered design or a user-centered design. They want to keep their users in the center. They want to identify who the user of the products are. They want to understand what kind of problems they are facing. They want to understand what they want versus what they need. There is a difference between want and need as well, right? So we need to understand those things. Once we understand those things, depending on that, designers along with their fellow team members, and again there are different set of teams which we talked about, together they come up with a solution. Um, so so I'm just quoting an example of Apple and Apple's products. Long ago, Apple built their personal computer, right? They wanted to make sure that everybody had access to a personal computer. They wanted to make sure that everybody can access the internet. I mean, there are big companies. Microsoft was working for so long. Apple was working for so long, and then there are so many other examples as well. But I just picked up an example from Apple. But as the world evolved, as the human need or the want changed, PC, your personal computer or a desktop changed into a laptop, right? It became portable. So you were able to carry your laptop to anywhere you go and still get connected to the internet as well. And then there were other gadgets as well. Like if you talk about the tablets, they are going specific, trying to address specific new needs of specific kinds of users as well. And if I talk about iPod, it was only to give, it was a source of entertainment where you can store multiple songs, a high quality sound they came up with. And today the same thing you can kind of access through their iPhone. They are also kind of ramping up iPhone to become your personal camera. They are, it's in a small PC in itself. You have the power of a computer, you have the power of a music system, you have the power of a camera, everything into a small portable gadget. That's the need coming in from users, and that's the products that a company is providing back to them. So users are always at the center. We are designing for our users or the humans or the people, right? And
So it
last,
always starts with, so
sorry,
if I've understood it right, it always
yeah,
starts with the people for whom the product or the service is being developed, rather
yes.
than starting with the technology that's available. Start with the people who are going to use it.
Mhm,
Try to
mhm.
think whether what kind of solutions are going to solve their real problems and what is going to cater to their demands.
Yeah, yes, you are right. And I mean, see, depending on the company that you are working with, it depends on the process or the goal of the company as well. There are smaller firms or smaller companies who are very development centric as well. But honestly speaking, the successful companies that are out there today, they always have a design department. I mean, at least some design sense or certain people who are, or certain designers who are working in their group. Uh, can a company be completely development centric? Yes, I have no doubt in that. There are multiple companies which are out there who is very development centric, who have their own products, and then those products are being absorbed by the bigger companies as well. And then their designers, the bigger company, the designers in those bigger companies are kind of enhancing those products as well. But I I think the companies definitely need a design department in their company to become successful, for sure. Yes.
So if someone is not directly working as a designer, uh,
Mhm,
knowing what are the design concepts, how
mhm,
does a designer think, would also
mhm,
help the engineers to grow in their career, because uh,
mhm.
most of the successful companies do have a designing function.
Yes, that is rightly put. Because over the years, in my 10 to 12 years of experience, when and as I am closely working with developers or engineers, I have picked up certain skills. Even though I do not literally code, but I do know as to how a code works, right? When I work collaboratively with the developers, they teach me as to what are the capabilities of that particular technology. they also kind of teach me what are the limitations of those technology. And I also have to design as per the capabilities. If there are certain technological limitations, we have to design around those limitations. Okay, so it is of great value to the engineers if they understand the mindset as to how a designer work, and vice versa. Like I, as a designer, it helps me, if I understand code and if I understand the technology the engineers are working in, as to what are the limitations. So accordingly, I can design whatever I'm designing for. It's a web or an app or something like that. I hope that helps clarify.
Yes, Satadru.
Cool. Great. Last but not the least, design is disruption. So design is disruption, and if somebody thinks what disruption is, it's a big word and it's a buzzword which we have picked up in the last few years. What we are trying to do, or what many companies are trying to do, is to break away from the traditional way of doing business or catering their products to the end users. Uh, Today, it's a fast paced world, right? So everything needs to be on the fingertips of our users, right? So I have some examples over here, which I'm sure that many of us have heard about. So the first logo is of Airbnb, next Twitter, and then LinkedIn. We all know how these platforms have revolutionized the way we book for accommodation, the way we interact with people. In case of Twitter, the way we voice out our opinion, and when it comes to LinkedIn, the way we kind of look for jobs, hunt for jobs, get connected to professionals, hire people. So that's what LinkedIn is doing, and it takes a monumental kind of effort, as I mentioned in the slide, to change someone's regular behavior. But design is such an important and a big tool that eventually, if the design and the product that you are building, if it's right, it will get noticed by users. So a constant iterative process needs to be in place when you are designing for any product. So those were some of the key points that I wanted to kind of tell to our viewers as to what design is. And I am again stating again, it's not about the softwares or beautifying something. It's about all these things that we just spoke about.
So this brings to my mind the differentiating value that we try to provide when we are competing with other products. Let's say in the same industry, there are, let's say, mobile industry. There is iPhone, there is Samsung, there is Nokia, there is Motorola. So when they compete with each other, uh, it is not just important that they are solving those basic problems, but also how they differentiate from their competitors, how their product is something unique, something that people want to use because they're not getting that experience from the products of the competitors.
Right. I think you did bring up a good question. So every company has their own goal as to how they want to cater to their audience or their customers, right? So even though both, you know, no, I mean, Nokia was a brand which was a household brand few years ago, which kind of went away completely. But then again, there was Android and iOS, which was picking up, right? So we need to understand that a company needs to stay relevant with the evolving world, number one. they need to identify and understand the problems that the users are facing so that they can change and upgrade their process of working, and accordingly you stay relevant in the industry. If you are not fulfilling the need of the customers, I think you will fade out from the industry very very quickly. That's from a different tangent that I spoke about. Yeah.
No, I think you brought in a great point that, I mean, in an industry, probably all the companies are doing the same kind of work, but
Mhm.
how one company differentiates itself from another is how well they understand the customer and how well
Yes.
they align their resources to solve the real problems of the customer rather than just
Yes.
following the template
Yes.
in that in. So I think
Yes.
that is a do you think do you think that that is a key aspect of design?
Absolutely. I think when we look at many of the brands, if just for an example, everything changes over the years. If you when we talk about brand design, there comes a time in, like, after a decade. It could be after a decade for some brand, it could be very sooner than that, it could be later as well, but you need to update your brand as well as to how you represent your brand. What does your brand speak about? Today you might be catering to a certain set of people, and then tomorrow, if you want to grow, you will have to kind of change the brand audience. You will have to change the way you portray your brand, whether it's from digital, being in print media, everything. So everything kind of needs to be it needs to have a holistic approach.
Sure.
Yeah. Great. So, I mean, moving on from that, and as you are trying to understand what are some of the, I mean, like, how is this design world? How can we break it down a bit? Because if we the examples that we saw right now, it was across different domains, across different industries. So let's try to kind of break it down as to what are the different design roles, irrespective of the domain that you're working in, right? Um, so I have kind of I have two different columns, as you see on your left. We have CX designer, service designer, product designer, UX designer, UI, interaction designer, graphic, AR, VR, content, animation. So everything that you see over here on the left-hand side, it's kind of a process that we have in our digital design world. So I myself, I'm kind of working as a user experience designer. I have come across many other roles, and I was happy that during my journey of 10 to 12 years, I was able to kind of move through the different roles and upskilled myself as well. But on the right hand side, at the same time, I just wanted to highlight some other roles that are out there in the different domains. So there is packaging designer, transportation designer, interior, industrial, fashion, film and video, architectural, space, video game designer. So I just wanted to kind of bring in different examples which the students or even the freshers can get inspired by, and then move on from there. Okay,
Sadhru,
so yeah.
how exactly is design as a function different from one industry to another?
So design is different from one function, one industry to the other, with certain changes in skills. If you look at design, so I'll just kind of take a very, very small example. Let's talk about fonts and typography. Okay. Um, we talk about fonts and we talk about typography. as a UI designer as well. When I am trying to design a particular web design or a particular mobile application design, I need to take care of that. I need to take care of accessibility as well. But but the same thing, typography and font. When we talk about let's say over here packaging design, right? So it's going to be print, right? That particular font will be printed on some sort of packaging. So those skills may vary from one place to the other, but the essence or the aesthetics would remain the same. It may vary a bit, but not necessarily. The base skills would pretty much remain the same. So if you talk about font in UI, if you talk about font in digital world versus print world, it would pretty much remain the same. We have to make sure that the packaging font is readable enough by the users. Even if it's a small fine print, it should be readable enough. If we are designing for video games, we are still going to use some fonts. It's again a form of digital only, but then we are using fonts. If we are doing some kind of architectural design, the big hoardings that are out there in front of the big hotel plaza, we need to make sure that the font is readable enough from a very distance to attract the customers as well. So the skills would pretty much remain the same, the tools would pretty much remain the same, but design can be applied in different roles, in different domains, in different industries. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the principles remain the same,
Yep.
but as the industry changes, so knowledge about how that industry works, the
Yes.
customers of that industry, how they think, what is their
Yes.
perspective. So, for
Mhm.
example, someone who is a customer of, let's say, financial services, has a
Mhm.
very different perspective when that same customer is a customer of a mobile phone. So
Yeah.
that understanding that perspective in the context of the industry is important. Are we connected? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you are audible. There is a, I think there is network issue to sir side.
Yeah, it looks like he there's a power cut side.
Yes, yes.
All right. He tries to join back. Do we have any questions from our audience? They can type
No,
their
sir.
questions like chat. So till Satadru tries to rejoin, I can give a brief summarization of what covered. So he started talking about his career journey, that how he started with 3D character animator and went on to become web designer, went into UX designing in big firms, and is right now working financial industry as a UX consultant. So he helps financial product lines, designing the experience of the digital products. So let's say there is insurance, there is mutual funds, and these are being delivered through digital channels, through websites, through web applications, through mobile applications. So Satadru is helping the company uh, defining the experience of these financial products when they are delivered through digital media. Satadru, looks like we're back in the live
Yeah.
session.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm in electricity, right? Let me see. I'm trying to share back the content. However, I somehow am not being able to, not getting the screen. Okay. Just let me know if you guys are able to see the shared screen.
I can.
Yes, sir. Screen is visible.
Okay, thank you so much. So yeah, I mean, sorry about that interruption, first of all, but I could not help it. So we were speaking about yeah, the different roles, and Bhaskar, did you kind of talk something as I kind of skipped for a few minutes?
So I was just summarizing about your journey till
Uh-huh.
you were trying to rejoin.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So those were some of the topics, the different roles that I wanted to kind of showcase to our users. And next, what we can do is definitely talk about those skills, right? Which we were talking about as to what those skills could be, that anybody can kind of practice as they are trying to begin their career, whether you are just passing out, or you are an intern, or you are a fresher, right? So the one thing that you might have noticed is that I keep on adding some quotes, and I get inspired by quotes, which I try to remember myself. So build your skills, not your resume. That's the one thing that will help you kind of progress in your career. You can think about doing a lot of certifications and having degrees and a number of certifications, but at the end of the day, your design work, which is going to speak for yourself, your skills is going to speak for yourself, right? That's the most important. I mean, like, that's one of the most important tools that you can improve upon, and that these are some of the things that I want to try to improve upon every day as and when I'm working. So, as Bhaskar kind of called out earlier, I try to improve upon those design principles, sharpen my observation skills, visualize ideas, trying to understand as to whether my ideas will work, yes or no. So, fail fast. But talking about failing fast, I would say something. Make sure that you have a constructive plan to fail fast. Uh, I encourage you to think out of the box for certain solutions, but there should be a certain pattern to it. I mean, if you keep on thinking about random stuff and keep on doing a number of idea validation, uh, there is going to be a lot of possibilities. But if you can have a constructive mind as to what are the steps that you want to take while you are trying to experiment, um, that's going to be more beneficial. Um, Validating those assumptions with the users is absolutely key. When you are doing some assumptions, you do it on paper, but if you could validate with a real user or a customer or a person that you are building the product for, if it's an innovative product, then you go ahead and validate it. That's going to be a key piece that you can improve upon. You have to be a clear communicator. This is one skill that even today I try to, try to improve upon and try to learn. Because if you are not a clear communicator, uh, everybody in the team will get confused. And when I talk about the team, I talk about those people like the product owners, the product managers, your users, your developers, your quality analysts, everybody. So you have to have clear communications. Um, Developing a thick skin. Why do you need to develop thick skin? Number one, because there will be a lot of criticism on the work that you are going to do, whether you are doing visual design, whether you are doing interactive design, whether you are doing illustrations, whether you are a user experience designer. You will always get feedback. You will get feedback from random people. You will get great feedback, like constructive feedback. So you have to have a thick skin to stay in the games, to stay relevant, to filter out what is necessary for you and to move on, to filter out those important feedback that you want to incorporate back in your own work, right? And then reiterate your design and reiterate the process as you move forward. Of course, solving problem is one of the key things that you can uh, work upon, whether it's a physical product, whether it's a digital product, whether it's a product in financial industry or any other industry. Have a mindset where you are trying to solve problems and not thinking about pixels and colors and softwares at the very beginning. Those will come definitely. Those are the tools that you need to do design, but your first tool is your communication with the people that you're working, pen and paper where you can quickly draw your sketches, maybe quick prototypes on the pen and paper, validating that idea. And then at the very end you go to your design board or whatever tool that you are using, like Adobe Premiere, Photoshop, XD, everything, anything, Sketch, whatever you want to use, those come at a later stage. um, you should know when to twist some rules, when to break boundaries, how to break boundaries as well. You should kind of challenge your fellow colleagues. You should challenge your managers, because you are going to gain experience as you are improving in your career. So your education that you are going to take, whether it's formal, whether it's off the internet, whether it's on the job, but your experience needs to come out. So we be very confident about the work that you do. It doesn't matter that a random people coming in and saying that I do not even like that web design that you have created. It is looking so shabby. You need it is missing the oomph. And all those jazz words that are out there in the industry, do not do not judge yourself. Uh, ask them what define oomph. Ask them what is jazz. If somebody says it's not jazzy enough, it's not funky enough, ask them to define what does funky mean to them. Does it even make sense to create a funky website for the customers that we are building this particular website for? So have those challenging mind and innovative mind. So do not be afraid to twist some rules, but you need to know how to do it. Again, it's a collaborative process. It's between the teams. You have an open dialogue, open discussions where you talk with your friends, you gain knowledge from them, you kind of give knowledge back to them. Last but not the least, keep learning, build the right mindset. I mean, this is going to be the top thing that you can carry forward doing, even if you have spent 5 years or 10 years or 20 years in the industry. I am still kind of working closely with my own mentors, trying to ask them and trying to bug them and disturb them and telling them or asking them, where can I improve? So I do not shy away from improving. I do not shy away from learning. There is just so much that you can learn, and you know, keep upskilling yourself. That's one thing that I would say. And the last thing to touch base upon a little bit more about mindset and skill set. So we talked about resume, we talked about softwares, we talked about skills, all these things. It's good, you need to have them. The thing is that there are so many people who already have them. I know everybody is graduating. The population is huge, so there is a big batch of graduates today passing out somewhere in the world with similar degrees or with similar certifications, skilled on similar softwares, skilled with similar skills, or skilled with similar practices. But what will set you apart is mindset. What is mindset? To have that thought process where you are solving the problems, and you are not setting or telling yourself that I need to be an expert on Photoshop or I need to be an expert on Illustrator. You do not need to remember all the shortcut keys. Yeah, if you do remember it, it's a big bonus for you, right? But try to solve problems for the users, try to solve problems for your own team, try to solve problem for your company. Have a growth mindset. How can you grow not only your own team, but how can you grow the whole product team is something that will set you apart. Today's skills will be redundant tomorrow. Okay, and skills are in plentiful, so you need to change yourself as the world changes. You need to upgrade yourself as the skills kind of changes as well. So again, if you remembered from my previous slide, design is basically a reflection of the world. So I am changing as and when the industry changes. My company demands me to change. My company demands me to upskill myself, and that is something that I also want to do. If you do not have the mindset to upskill yourself, you will never grow in your career, right? So
So that's
if you
something that
want
you need to do.
110%, like otherwise all the products that are that we are kind of coming up with, we are doing for our customers or for our users, right? They need everything on their fingertips today. If I talk about digital design, and that is why the progression of iPod to iPhone. That is why DSLR to the power of an almost power of a DSLR into a mobile phone. We are talking about giving power to creative people who like to move around and do illustrations. So they do not want to carry their heavy laptop all the time. They came up with a solution to create tablets, and you can literally draw on them today. So when there are certain illustrators and designers who want things, even the company is coming up with products which kind of helps them to kind of be free. That's what we kind of do. Hope that helps.
Satadru, I would request you to move to the previous slide in which you had a list of skill set uh, that designers do have. So here I was looking at failing fast as a skill set. So why in the first place failing come into picture? Why we need to fail? Why can't we succeed always?
No, well, if you do not fail, you do not learn from your mistakes, right? You I so I do not know. I mean, I don't think I passed my first interview. If I kind of remember, the first company that I went to, I did not pass it. I took the learnings from my failure, and then we went. I improved on the things that I needed to improve, and made sure that I could come back again and get my time with a particular company in a particular team. So I don't think that you can succeed in everything at the first attempt. If you do succeed at the very first attempt, what I can say is that you will fail tomorrow if you do not learn from whatever you are learning today. So that's what, even kind of going back to the example of a certain company. which wanted to kind of stay the way they wanted to stay, they missed on the opportunity of Android, and Nokia was lagging behind. They thought they were relevant, they thought they were the giants. And I think it's not only me picking up on that company, the world uses it as an example. And we saw how they are trying to make a comeback into the industry again with their latest phones, right? So if you succeed at the very first time, I mean, kudos to you. I think that will be because you did a lot of research. I think that is because you have already validated with your users. I think you have visualized all different possibilities. You have communicated well, and you have succeeded at the very first launch, which is great, 110%. But you should continuously improve. It's going to be an iterative process. If you do not improve, you will definitely fail for sure at one point.
So it's about testing our design, testing our solution uh, with the customers or a small set of customers, and with a mindset that it's okay to fail in the first iteration, but trying to improve it over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a big goal and if you see that you may fail somewhere, what you can definitely do is to go small. Um, Go out and release some features, if not all the features that you dream about. Uh, See how it fares in the market, see what the users are talking about that particular feature or those smaller amount of features that you have released, and then build on top of that. So while you are gathering the feedback, whether it's from interviews, whether it's from paperwork, or whether it's from one-on-one interaction focus group, or whether it's from Google Analytics or coming in as data. So you are understanding how people are already using your products, right? So once you understand that, you can build on top of that. Go small, and then slowly and steadily release more features. And then, if you remember Paytm, if I quote as an example, what and how they started with, and what they are providing to you today. I'm guessing that many of us today use Paytm or even Google Pay. Um, so the concept of building a product is such: you can start small, and then you can scale up and become a bigger product company.
All right. Uh, the next one that you have written is validating assumptions.
Yeah, validating
What
assumptions. Yes.
what type of assumptions you are talking about? Do we really have assumptions?
Yes. So I have something in my next slide where we will be talking about assumptions a bit. But to give a quick example, is that in our design process, when we start going into the design process, when we are doing a set of research, not every company may have a big budget to do research. Not every company may have budget to let you go and do those user interviews, stakeholder interviews, and all forms of research, right? So what do you do in that case? You move ahead with certain set of assumptions that this is how our users may use our product. However, you can always validate those ideas back with the stakeholders, back with the management, back with your team members, not only with the design team members, but from the engineering team. Try to validate the assumptions that you are designing for with the people who are around you, in and within the company. If you have the budget to go outside the company, have a certain set of customers. I mean, that's beautiful, right? You would want to do that. But validating your assumptions, you need to do that as a step for sure.
That helps.
Great. Good. Any other questions that you have on this, or we can move from here and talk about what our fellow colleagues can start with. If somebody is interested to kind of study about the design field, what at least they can start off with, and where all they could learn from. That's something that I have on my agenda today. But I'll just take a quick pause and see if you have any further questions at this point of time.
I think this will be a great topic to get into how someone can break into the field of design.
Yeah. So, again, I just quoted one of my other quotes that I really like: leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. So everybody wants to grow in their career, and the only way to grow into their career is going to be always keep on learning, right? And when we talk about learning, how do we begin what to learn, right? I have few mentors in my life today to whom I can easily go back to, and discuss design with them, discuss about the work that we do, discuss about the improvement points as well, talking about the basics as well. We should never forget our basics. So in our design field, as a user experience designer, what we generally kind of practice is something called as design thinking. It's a process. It's a tool that we try to follow. There are different stages of design thinking. Number one, we have empathizing with our users. Number two, we have defining the problem statement. We have ideate, we have prototyping, we have testing and implementing. So I talked about reiterating the process again and again. So we want to understand our customer, where we are empathizing with them, trying to know them, getting to know them, getting to know their problems, defining the problem statements, where we are talking about what the problem statement is, and then we are building upon how to solve that particular problem. We are ideating, we are brainstorming about for a potential solution. And after we have ideated few things, we move into the prototyping stage. That is where when we use certain tools or softwares like Adobe, or we use Sketch. And after we have built those prototypes, we also kind of validate or test. That's where the validating the assumptions and the validating your own product comes into the picture. And then we hand it over to implementing. So implementing is basically handing it over to the developers and see it getting coded, and the user testing can be done after that, or the QA can be done after that. So design thinking is one subject that I will definitely recommend to everyone to start off with. There are multiple resources out there which everyone can look into, but these are some of the points, very basic points, which everyone can start off with: design principles, laws of UX, design thinking, which I just spoke about, design system management, color theory, typography, which I gave an example about, power of imagery and content. So all these things will help you get started for sure, right? Where can we learn from? We can learn from everyone around us. I learn from you, Bhaskar. I spend a lot of time with you trying to understand how you work, and having some mentors within the organization, outside the organization, and even kind of, if you want to do certifications, if you want to graduate in certain fields, I have listed down some. There are few certifications. There are few places where you get extremely good people who teach you things about UX, CX, the design field altogether. So Human Factor International, NMG Group, which is the Nielsen Norman Group. We have IDO, we have IDOU, which is another subsidiary. We have IDF, IDF being Interaction Design Foundation. And then there is IBM, Adobe, Springboard, LinkedIn, and then there are so many more. Today, you can go onto the internet and get certifications easily. Um, However, I'll definitely say that do not remember to learn the skills. Don't just look for certifications. Go through them and apply those learnings into your projects. Whether you are doing a project for yourself when you are building a portfolio, or whether you are is working as an intern or a fresher. Hope that makes sense and helps, Bhaskar.
Yeah, I think this list of certifications and courses will help our audiences in finding out resources to develop their skills. And I'm sure
Mhm.
they will keep in mind that it's not just about getting a certificate, but
Yep.
understanding how those concepts can be applied in solving problems.
Yeah. Great. Last but not the least, we'll just quickly talk about career progression. I know we are pressed on time, so I'll quickly jump into the last slide that I have for the day. So typically, what you see on the left-hand side is a career progression that an HR of a certain company would, define. So you become as a design intern, you move it to become a junior designer, you move on to become a designer, then a senior designer, lead position, assistant design manager, consultant, director. So this is a typical hierarchy that you will get in the industry. But I honestly will say that you have to some way or the other kind of manage all these roles as you grow through the skills that you have gained, right? So I myself, if you ask me, I place myself as somewhere in the hybrid group, because I like to do hard designs, right? I focus very much on my design skills. I want to improve on them. But at the same time, I also want to kind of, become a connector of ideas between teams and products. So, which becomes in turn like switching into roles very easily. Sometimes I work as a leader, sometimes I work as a student. So it's a very fine balance. So as and when you will progress through your career, you have to have that little balance. And I will recommend everyone not to get hung up on designations. Do not get hung up on designations. Focus on the work that you are doing. Focus on the skill that you are working upon, upskill. And then once you kind of go through your career, I wish everyone to become or reach at a point where they can call themselves on design directors or design consultant, working with firms and big companies, trying to solve big problems. Again, trying to solve big problems, not just designing. Okay, you that's the thing that I want you guys to become. You become problem solvers, and design is basically one thing that is allowing you to solve those problems.
Satadru,
Yeah,
one last question is,
sure.
if an engineer or someone from a non-design background wants to get into design, is it possible?
Yes, it is possible. Definitely. I mean, if you are learning on yourself, you can do that. If you are doing some certification, it helps you a bit because you get the context and the content, and somebody is already guiding you. If you have certain mentors in your life, that will also help. But a transition from one skill to a different skill automatically helps. I myself I am an example of it. I started my career as a 3D character animator. I was not focusing on user experience design at that point of time. But slowly and steadily throughout my career, I shifted into becoming a user experience designer, and hopefully, I will move into becoming a CX designer someday. So, I will definitely say that yes, it is possible. You know, as I said, doing some certification helps, but it's not always necessary, because if you are a master of a certain subject, You already have knowledge about that domain, and you can help researchers who are going to define those user experience of a certain product. So if you are in a medical field and I'm a user experience designer, if you want to shift from your domain, come into helping me design my medical product that I am going to do, you will give me all your subject matter expertise, and together we will kind of work as a design team and we will build that product. I hope that kind of example kind of helps. But yes, if you want to do design yourself, then those nitty gritties would be added advantages to have, like a certification, to know a few software, all those things. It definitely helps. But user experience, if we deep dive, and I would love to deep dive into certain things, but it's a collaborative process. We work with subject matter experts from different domains, whether it's finance, whether it's healthcare, whether it's IoT, whether it's AR/VR. So we will collaborate, and we invite engineers also to come on and kind of give their experience as to what would be the possibilities, what would be the limitations, and those things I already spoke about, right? So
Yep.
that would be my answer.
And if someone wants to get into design, what do you think is the
Yeah.
entry point? Uh, do companies regularly hire designers? What kind of skill set do they
Well,
look for?
yeah, so when we are trying to hire for our company, even if there are engineers, and I have interviewed certain developers who are trying to transition into the design field because they got interested in this domain. What helps is that if they have certain use cases in their portfolio, obviously you need to do a bit of background studies. So all those studies and the skills that I talked about here, those are the things that you can definitely start off with. As and when you are studying those things, you create your own project. You can pick up an example. So today there is Airbnb. Today there is Airbnb application on your mobile. You can pick up that particular application and say that you want to better the experience of that particular application. You go through the process as to what I kind of told you about, and you create your own portfolio of one or two use cases. And then if we as hiring people in a company, we see that you already have the knowledge about HTML, CSS, JavaScript, on all React.js, on all these things as technical people. And then you have already picked up skills like design tools. Then what we see is that you are kind of becoming that full stack designer, where you can both design and develop yourself your own product. So rounding off that product owner kind of a role is going to be very, very helpful for the engineers if they want to shift into design as well. And we as designers, we want to pick up some coding. Sometimes we want to also pick up some coding skills as well, just trying to have discussions with our fellow developers.
Uh, are there internships or volunteering opportunities that budding designers can tap into?
Let me come back to you on that. I'm pretty sure that yes, there are internships that can be done. There are many companies who allow, an engineer or anybody, a fresher, somebody passing out from the college, who would invite you as an intern. I believe, if I'm not wrong, even principal as a company has that as a practice, and it's great, right? So a company gives you the opportunity where you come on board and work with fellow subject matter experts, whether it's the engineering team or the designing team or the quality analyst team or so on and so forth. There are internships that are available out there to begin with. Yes, you need to kind of find it actually which companies provides those things. But I can come back and let you know, and you can share it with the team.
Yeah, I mean, it will be really difficult from
Yeah,
just trying from
yeah.
accessibility standpoint.
Yes, 110%. It doesn't necessarily have to be at a stage where you're starting your career, but it can be after a few years as well. You want to shift your domain, you want to become a designer, you already have certain skill sets, and then slowly and steadily, as you are reading about it, as you are upskilling yourself, you are doing some certifications, you go into an internship and you can do it. That's 100%.
All right, then. I think today we had a great session on. Uh, I know that it's difficult to cover all of it in 90 minutes, but it was a great start. And that said, if 5 to 10% interested, we can have a deep dive on experience design as a topic. Uh,
User experience design, yeah.
uh, role progressions possible, what kind of mindset is needed. So definitely, I think this webinar was a great starting point for someone to explore.
Yeah, thank you. And I would be absolutely interested, and do let me know if you want me to come back and share my knowledge. We can go in depth as well, a bit on user experience design. I do definitely want to thank you, Bhaskar, for inviting me, and I do want to thank IEEE platform as well for doing this. So, hoping to do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, thanks for taking out time to share your knowledge.
Thanks, Bhaskar. Have a nice day ahead. Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.